A silence descends. Not the gentle hush of a palace at rest, but the profound, breathless quiet that precedes the blade's cold descent. Here, within these gilded walls, even the very air seems to hold its breath. You feel it, don't you? This premonition, this chilling undercurrent that has nothing to do with the night's cool embrace. Deep within the heart of this sprawling labyrinth, perhaps in a chamber long forgotten, lies a coffer. Ironbound, yes, its formidable strength veiled by the softest silk and plush velvet, as if to lull any lingering suspicion. A calculated calm. For beneath that opulent shroud, nestled amongst forgotten treasures and the dust of ages, lies not merely a stone. This, my dear, is the Eye of Babylon. A paradox carved from the earth itself. A blessing that demands a blood price, a curse veiled in blinding light. For centuries, its cold, indifferent fire has forged the destinies of empires. It has been the silent witness to coronation and collapse, to the meticulous weaving of bloodlines and their ruthless shattering by swift, decisive betrayal. It understands the exquisite art of the game of queens, the whispered plots, the alliances formed on fragile promises, the fatal missteps in the shadow of the throne. No one was ever meant to unearth its true history. No one should ever hear the song its facets hum, a lullaby woven from desperate ambition, from poison slipped into morning coffee, from the final, desperate shadow cast by fading dynasties. They sought to bury its truth, to silence its bloody testament. But secrets, like shadows, always find a way to lengthen. Yet, you are here, drawn by a curiosity deeper than any court intrigue, perhaps, or by a premonition of the truth that claws at the edges of history. And so, I will show you. Lean closer and listen. Listen to the whisper of the shadow it casts across the ages. It speaks of power, yes, but at what terrible cost? Consider its beginnings. A flicker of light caught in the depths of a pristine gem. A token, nothing more, from a sultan's boundless treasury to the neck of a favored concubine. A testament to his passing fancy, perhaps, or a moment of genuine affection. It sparkled there, innocent, a mere adornment amidst the silks and scents of the harem. A symbol, they said, of his generosity, his power, his fleeting love. But look closer. Watch the women. The subtle shifts in their gazes, the way their fingers, adorned with lesser stones, would unconsciously trace the air around it. For in these golden cages, where every breath is measured, every glance a coded message, even beauty holds a darker resonance. It was not long before the diamond ceased to be just a gift. It became a statement, a declaration of favor, a challenge to rivals, a whisper of ascendancy. This is where the transformation began, you see, from an object of admiration to an instrument of influence, from the soft glow of a lover's generosity to the hard gleam of strategic intent. This diamond, this silent witness to the most intimate moments, began its true journey. From the gilded chamber of a fleeting love, it would pass, in hushed tones and clandestine exchanges, into the calculating hands of a Valide sultan, a mother whose every heartbeat was for the survival and elevation of her bloodline. It was no longer a bauble. It was a pledge, a guarantee of alliances, a demand for fealty, a silent, sparkling contract, a promise of loyalty to those who held it, or a chilling precursor to betrayal for those who coveted it. Each transfer, each delicate placement upon a new neck, spoke volumes louder than any decree. It was a pawn in the deadly game of queens, a physical manifestation of ambition, circulating within the very veins of the dynasty. Imagine it, if you will. The weight of it, not in carats, but in consequence. Hidden beneath layers of the finest silk, tucked away in velvet pouches, it carried the fortunes of princes, the hopes of mothers, the seeds of ruin. Did it hold a trace of poison? Perhaps not literally upon its facets, but within the desperate hearts it inflamed, the dark deeds it inspired. I have seen, from my vantage point in these ever-present shadows, that a beautiful stone can bleed more souls than any sharpened blade. For these women, these mothers of Shahzades, these architects of the future, the diamond was never merely an ornament. It was a key to the Sultan's chamber, to his ear, to his favor. A key to unlocking the gates of the throne for their sons, to securing their own power, their own legacy. Or, and this was the silent dread that permeated every breath, it was a key to the grave. A sign of their downfall, a prelude to their exile, their ultimate demise, wrapped in the suffocating embrace of silence. They knew its true value, its deadly potential, and they learned, oh how quickly they learned, to wield such beauty as a weapon of war. From behind this pillar, my eyes have seen many things. The flickering light of oil lamps, reflecting not just on gilded ceilings, but on the hidden anxieties of those who walk beneath them. These walls, ancient and heavy with history, speak of power. But I tell you, true power here is not always wielded with a sword, nor shouted from a throne. It often whispers, glints, and deceives. It is a serpent in the garden, a shadow stretching longer than any empire. There are moments when beauty itself becomes a snare, a glittering, silent trap, more dangerous than any dungeon. You see, in these chambers, where every smile can be a prelude to a dagger, a mere bauble can shift the very bedrock of a dynasty. One such night, it arrived. Not clanging like armor, nor announced by trumpets, but soft, insidious. An invisible hand, guided by a will colder than mountain ice, extended a delicate parcel. Its very presentation was a masterclass in silent menace. Bound with the finest silk, a weave so delicate it seemed spun from moonlight itself, it held not just a gift, but a declaration. A promise veiled in opulent silence, yet screaming its intent to those who understood the language of the court. No one, not even the most guarded of souls, the most powerful of viziers, could refuse it. To do so would have been an admission of fear, a challenge to an unassailable will, an open act of defiance that would surely lead to a swift, brutal end. It was more than a gesture, it was a mark, a seal on a fate yet unwritten, but already irrevocably determined. A single gleaming shard of fate, presented with chilling grace. I watched her that night, one of the court's formidable figures, a woman whose beauty was a carefully honed weapon, whose mind was a labyrinth of ambition and ruthlessness. Her eyes, usually veiled behind a mask of serene grace, held a glint of resolve, sharp as a freshly whetted blade. She understood its true nature, this unspoken ultimatum. This diamond, pristine and brilliant, was not a token of affection, nor a trinket of casual esteem. It was a message, etched in facets of pure light, proclaiming the end of an era, the undeniable rise of another. It whispered of an unspoken demand, a sovereignty silently asserted, an impending reckoning that hung in the perfumed air like the scent of cypress after a funeral. And so, the game truly began. The pieces were set, the players, some unwitting, some unwilling, all pawns in a silent war where smiles masked daggers and honeyed words concealed venom. The diamond's arrival was the signal, the breaking of a fragile truce that had held the court in a precarious balance. The shadows in the corridors seemed to deepen, to coil and wait. Soon after, the news rippled through the palace, a hushed tremor that shook the very foundations of power. A cup of sherbet, offered with customary reverence and a knowing glance, became a vessel of oblivion. Its sweetness, a deceptive veil for a bitter, final end. The poison had found its mark, precise and devastating, leaving no trace but the chilling silence it left in its wake. Her victim? Not some monstrous foe, some villain from the outer realms whose demise would be celebrated. No, she was merely another woman, navigating the treacherous currents of this court, another survivor in this ruthless game of queens who had, perhaps unknowingly, stood too close to the sun. Her only sin was her continued existence, her inconvenient position in the grand tapestry of power, a thread that needed to be cut for the new design to unfold. This was not a war of good against evil. It was a war of absolute necessity against inconvenient presence, a clash of wills disguised as courtly pleasantries. The bloodline demanded sacrifice, and the diamond, once a symbol of purity, of eternal light, became an instrument of ultimate betrayal. It was her sharpest blade, gleaming not with steel, but with the cold, unfeeling light of calculated ruthlessness. Every facet of that stone, I imagine, now held the reflection of a life extinguished, a future undone, a dynasty subtly reshaped. There were no shouts of war, no clash of steel echoing through the courtyards. Only the profound, heavy silence that follows such an act. A silence that clung to the tapestries, seeped into the very mortar of the walls, a testament to a war waged not with armies, but with souls. The diamond, that beautiful, deadly thing, was its silent, glittering accomplice, forever stained by the darkness it wrought, a monument to how beauty became a weapon and how brilliance can betray. The air in these chambers, it thickens, does it not? With a scent far more potent than any perfume, more insidious than the sweetest incense. Do you imagine, my dear ones, that the price of that glittering rock was paid with a single life? A singular fall from grace, a solitary hush in the Sultan's garden? Oh no, such a naive thought could only bloom outside these walls, beyond the reach of the true power that coils within. Here, behind the intricate latticework, I tell you, nothing remains without consequence. Every drop of blood spilt, every tear that stained the fine silk merely watered the soil for new terrors to take root. The diamond, that accursed spark of brilliance, did not merely end one life, it ignited 1,000 silent wars. Where once there was a fragile trust, now festered a raw wound of betrayal. The women, once rivals for affection, now became specters to one another, their eyes flicking over shoulders, searching for the telltale twitch of a smile, the false comfort of a hand offered. The rustle of a gown in the corridor was no longer an elegant sound, but a whisper of approach, a potential threat. Was it a servant with a message, or an assassin with a vial of poison cloaked in the folds of her dress? The fear was palpable, a chilling current beneath the veneer of courtly grace. The Sultan himself, once a formidable oak, found the axe of suspicion striking at his roots. He saw not just his wives, but his own sons through a newly clouded lens. Who among them was truly loyal? Who merely waited for the moment to claim the throne, spurred by the whispers of ambition that the diamond's curse had unleashed? The dynasty, which appeared to stand unyielding, a monument to strength, began to show hairline fractures, subtle yet deep, like cracks in ancient marble. The grand halls, once echoing with laughter and decree, now seemed to absorb sound, creating pockets of oppressive silence, where every thought, every glance, held a double meaning. This stone, meant to proclaim unparalleled grandeur, became instead a malevolent eye, casting shadows that lengthened with each passing day. It didn't bring greatness, it sowed seeds of an eternal paranoia, a malignant bloom that choked the very air. Innocence, if it ever truly existed here, was devoured. Trust, a delicate thread, was irrevocably severed. And the bloodline itself, the sacred lineage meant to endure through ages, felt the cold, suffocating grip of an unyielding suspicion. Only the most ruthless, those with hearts hardened by the relentless chill of deceit, managed to navigate this new, treacherous landscape. They alone survived, leaving behind a legacy etched in fear, stained with the indelible mark of what that diamond had wrought. The air here, it remembers. A whisper of forgotten ambitions, a metallic tang of betrayal clinging to the silk tapestries. You feel it, don't you? This opulent silence holds more secrets than any dungeon, and within its suffocating embrace, Deep within the vault's cool, unforgiving heart, it lies. Not merely a stone, but a slumbering entity awaiting its next command. They say it is innocent, a masterpiece of nature's brutal artistry. Yet, look closer. Can you not perceive the faint shimmer of ages, a residue of fear and absolute, unyielding power? It is the beauty that became a blade. Not one forged for external skirmishes, no. This is a weapon of the soul, designed to tear open the fragile seams of a household, to unravel the very core of a dynasty from within its gilded cage. Its whispers are not heard on battlefields, but in the hushed, perfumed chambers where queens plot their ascensions, where the bloodline is both a blessing and a terrible curse. Its true worth? Not the measure of carats, but the weight of the untold narratives it has witnessed. The stories of how the most exquisite radiance can be twisted by human avarice, by the relentless hunger for the throne. How something so pure can be imbued with the essence of poison, becoming the most lethal instrument in the hands of a woman desperate to secure her place, or her sons. And this is the grim truth, my dears. So long as there are crowns to be seized, so long as the ancient currents of dynasty flow, this silent assassin will endure. Ever ready, always patient, it waits in the shadows for its new mistress. For the true nature of power, the kind that binds and breaks, is precisely this: the chilling ability to transform sheer, captivating beauty into an inescapable, devastating curse.